talking about a Scorpion team going in a different direction, even being hostile to citizens. That's how one of the officers charged in the TYRE NICHOLS beating described the police unit.
Desmond Mills broke down crying on the witness stand in the trial of former officers TYRE Bean, Justin Smith, and Demetrius Haley.
Our April Thompson was in the courtroom and has today's testimony.
Some predicted these officers would turn on each other, and Desmond Mills did as much today, describing the Scorpion unit as one he was trying to get out of. Desmond Mills, with his face covered, entering federal court Tuesday to testify in the trial of TYRE Bean, Justin Smith, and Demetrius Haley. Mills took a plea deal in the federal charges and agreed to testify for the prosecution. But in court, Mills broke down, sobbing on the witness stand after looking at the video of all of them hitting TYRE NICHOLS. Mills saying, "I wish I could have stopped the punches. It hurt to watch. It hurt inside so much. I feel bad every time a picture is on the screen, and no, I'm a part of that." Mills described a Scorpion team that was going in a different direction, saying he didn't like the team and was looking to leave, saying the team was go, 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 and not stopping to think. Some had predicted the officers charged would turn on each other. An attorney for TYRE NICHOLS' family told WREG as much before the trial started.
They either going to try to point fingers and say it was mostly them, not me, which is them turning on each other, or they are going to have to say we were following our training. We were following our policy.
And on the witness stand, Desmond Mills described his co-Scorpion team members, saying Demetrius Haley came to work pumped and was aggressive to citizens. He said Haley frequently did not have his camera on, and when he asked him about it, he said, "F that." Haley said Emmett Martin wasn't doing well after a car accident, and there was something mentally wrong. He said Haley and Martin were called the Smash Brothers because of their use of force, saying they would get hostile with citizens. Mills said he pepper sprayed TYRE NICHOLS even though he was not a threat. And after Mills pepper sprayed himself, he got angry and pulled out his baton, hitting NICHOLS 3 times. He admitted he did nothing to help NICHOLS and never knew there was a Skycop camera recording what they did. He found that out when he got back to the station. In tears, Mills said, "I made his child fatherless. I am sorry. I am sorry. Knowing sorry can't bring him back. I pray his child has everything he needs growing up." Court wrapped up early this afternoon around 4 o'clock. No explanation why. Desmond Mills is expected back on the stand Wednesday morning. For your news leader in downtown Memphis, April Thompson, WREG News Channel.
We heard opening statements from prosecutors, the defense, and a passionate testimony from Tyre's mother.
I lost it. Because the first thing I had to do is try to figure out how I'm going to tell his siblings that their little brother is deceased. That was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do as a mother.
Rovon Wells was the first witness called by the prosecution. She says her son was a young man still figuring out life.
He was a 29-year-old young man still trying to find his way in life. You know, he hadn't found his way yet. He was getting there.
TYRE Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith pleaded not guilty to a 7-count indictment, which includes second-degree murder. The officers are accused of beating NICHOLS to death during a traffic stop in January of 2023. Prosecutor Paul Hagerman laid out the severity of the crime for the jury.
Blunt force trauma to the head. What looks like a car, almost looks like a car wreck. Injuries that you almost see mainly in a car wreck.
Jurors also heard from defense attorneys. Justin Smith's attorney says NICHOLS was his client's most difficult arrest he had ever made.
These cops arrest violent felons every night. And every cop who come in here to testify will tell you that TYRE NICHOLS was the most difficult arrest they've ever made.
The trial is expected to resume Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Reporting in Chattanooga, I'm Madison Sims, Local 3 News.
police. And the testimony is coming from a former officer who was on the scene that night. Former Scorpion Unit member Emmett Martin was the first officer to see Tyre Nichols in January of 2023.
Today, he took the witness stand in the federal trial of TYRE Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith. Our WREG's April Thompson is live at federal court. And April, plenty of people have been waiting to hear what Martin has to say about what happened that night.
They have, especially since now that he is testifying against the other three officers. And one thing that we continue to hear Martin say in his testimony, we lied and exaggerated to justify what we did. Emmett Martin, a former member of the Memphis Police Department Scorpion Unit, describing the deadly encounter that led to the unit's demise and Tyre Nichols' death. Martin testifying for the prosecution in the federal trial of TYRE Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith, laying out how he was the first to see Nichols speed up to make it through a red light and gave chase. Martin admitting he didn't know how fast Nichols was going, but that a chase for a traffic violation was against MPD policy. It would be the first of several policy violations, Martin testified, he and other officers committed that night, describing how he, Demetrius Haley, and Officer Preston Hemphill surrounded Nichols' car, yelling, "Get the expletive out of the car and get on the ground. I'm going to tase your expletive." Martin said Nichols was never resisting and there was no reason to tase him, which Hemphill did. Martin says by the time they caught up with Nichols, who managed to run away, TYRE Bean and Justin Smith had him on the ground, hitting him with a closed fist. He said Desmond Mills took out his baton and started hitting Nichols 3 times on the arm. And that was against policy since Nichols was not a threat. Martin admitted he should have stepped in. But instead, he said, I punched him in the face 5 times with a closed fist. When asked why he did it, Martin said, I was mad. I was already on edge prior to even getting there. We tried to get him in custody, and it wasn't working. He ran, and that's what happened. Martin said Haley delivered a vicious kick between Nichols' torso and head. Martin said he also added to the kicks, saying Nichols' body jerked. He admitted kicking is not a trained police technique. One thing Martin maintained, out of all the officers on the scene, no one told the other to stop or pull back. By the time their Lieutenant Dwayne Smith showed up, he says no one mentioned the punches and kicks they had delivered to Nichols, saying if they did, they would have been charged. Instead, they told him Nichols was high, something they didn't have evidence of, and that he was driving into oncoming traffic and got out of his car swinging. Martin saying they had to justify his actions to justify theirs. Martin also testified to a code that was a general understanding. I'm not going to tell on them, and I know they're not going to tell on me. Not going to put them in a situation where they get in trouble. It was an understanding. Basically, we did what we needed to do. I wasn't going to tell on them, and they weren't going to tell on me. And Martin saying a lot here in court today. Bear with me if you will. Martin also testified he gestured for Mills to take off his body camera because he didn't want it to catch what they were saying after the beating, saying it was common practice to remove the camera, leave it running on the car. He'd seen other people do it, so he did the same thing. He also said the assault report the department wrote up for him, since Nichols was trying to take Martin's gun, what he said happened, was also full of untruths, as well as Martin's own response to resistance report, even down to the lack of information they gave dispatch and EMTs and first responders about Tyre Nichols' injuries. They never told anyone what they did. Right now, Martin is still on the stand. He is being questioned by the defense attorneys. Now they're bringing out how Martin is getting a substantial assistance in his own case for his testimony here, and how he never mentioned Tyre's first question to officers that night they pulled him out of the car, saying Nichols never told them, saying Nichols did tell them, why y'all always expletive with me. Martin says he didn't mention it because no one ever asked. Reporting live for News Channel 3, I'm April Thompson.
Current Memphis police officer testified in court today that her ex-boyfriend, Officer Demetrius Haley, sent her a photograph of a severely injured Tyre Nichols not long after he and other officers who now are on trial are seen on video beating Nichols. Action News 5's Jerry Askin was listening in once again today. And Jerry, who else testified today?
Hey, Joe, good evening. A lot of people testified today. The jurors got to hear from a police dispatcher. They also heard again from former MPD officer Emmett Martin III, who pled guilty, as you may recall, on federal charges. And they heard from Officer Haley's ex-girlfriend, who's now a current MPD officer. She told the court that she was actually on the phone with Officer Haley during that initial traffic stop and heard the officers yelling at TYRE Nichols. The photo is too graphic to show you, but MPD officer Brittany Leak told the jury that her ex-boyfriend, Officer Demetrius Haley, sent her and her godsister a photo of TYRE after he was attacked at 8:41 p.m. She replied and said, "Oh my God, he definitely needs to go to the med." Then deleted that photo, she said, because it was hard to see. Before she testified, former officer Emmett Martin III, who's already pled guilty on federal charges, said the day of the TYRE Nichols arrest, he had two failed arrests. One trying to execute an arrest warrant at an apartment complex in Binghamton where the suspect wasn't there. And the second, he said, also bothered him because they got a tip of someone selling Glock switches where his daughter and child's mother live. That also led to a failed arrest. Martin was flustered at times during today's cross-examination. The defense pressed if he should have returned to work after being on desk duty after being hit by a car. He admitted he wanted revenge on the person who hit him months before, also admitting he wanted to make more arrests and impress his lieutenant on his Scorpion 1 team, who he claims wanted more arrests. Yeah, back live now outside the federal building. Now, when Emmett Martin was asked today about his reputation, he said, quote, "I was a pretty good officer." Coming up here, all new at 6. Right now, a firefighter and EMT who treated TYRE on the scene is on the stand. And we heard from that police dispatcher. Hear what the crucial details they say the officers on the scene left out that could have saved TYRE's life. I'm working that part of the story for the next hour. We're live here in downtown Memphis. I'm Jerry Askin, Action News 5.
She tried to warn the Memphis Police Department about an officer now charged in the death of TYRE Nichols.
WREG investigator Jessica Gertler has her story and uncovers a loophole that may have kept the case from being sent to the district attorney's office for review.
The evening of February 21st, 2021, Memphis police got a call. There was a shooting at the Walgreens on Knight Arnold. Khadijah Towns and her aunt were there.
We was returning a red box and we was getting another red box.
She says they were about to leave when a male officer approached her, asking if she heard gunfire.
And I told him no, and he told us we can go ahead and leave.
She says as she put the car into reverse, a female officer stopped her. Her aunt hit record on her cell phone.
It's a everybody in the car. Oh my God, y'all! We were getting a red box.
Where's your
ID?
ID?
Getting a red box, y'all.
Where's your ID?
Why you need my? What I do?
She wouldn't tell me what I did. She was just telling me to get out.
Why would I? What are you doing?
She proceeded to stick her hand in my car, unlock my door, and kind of arm wrestle with me.
Two male officers each grabbed her arms, then put her into handcuffs.
I'm crying now. I'm like, you dislocated my shoulder. And he just telling me, stop resisting. I'm like, I'm not resisting. I'm trying to tell. Because if you look at the video, my hand's behind my back.
Officers then approached her aunt and the video ends. Town says officers put her into the squad car. She says she demanded they take her to the emergency room for her shoulder pain. Her family followed the squad car, so the officer pulled over and got out.
And drew a gun at my brother and my aunt.
Town says they took her aunt into custody. Well, they took her to the hospital and then to jail, but she says she never faced any charges. She said she did give a statement to MPD's internal affairs, but never knew what came of the case until last month. She saw the mugshots of the now former Memphis police officers charged in TYRE Nichols' death. One of them, Demetrius Haley, the officer who put her into handcuffs that night. Were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised because how they did me at Walgreens.
Towns' incident was in Haley's disciplinary file WREG investigators uncovered. He was written up in Towns' case, not for using force, but for not filling out the proper paperwork to alert his supervisors that force was used. Haley told Internal Affairs he did not know why they were handcuffing Towns, and the officer who helped him was not familiar with why she was pulled over in the first place. A lieutenant did say Haley routinely makes good decisions, and he was sure this was a limited event. The female officer, Alexis Brown, said while investigating the shooting call, she saw Towns laughing in her car, so she initiated the traffic stop, and that Towns became verbally and passively resistant. She put Towns into her squad car for investigative detention, also claiming she found marijuana in the car but disposed of it. Internal Affairs says Brown violated a number of policies, including excessive force. She resigned before her disciplinary hearing.
And for them to give her time to quit on her own, like, that wasn't fair at all.
Towns says what's also not fair, her case was never turned over to the Shelby County District Attorney's Office for review to see if any of the officers did anything criminally wrong. See, a month after her incident, the then DA and the former police director created a new policy. All cases of excessive force that result in disciplinary action would be sent to the DA's office for review. Again, the officer quit before she was disciplined for violating the excessive force policy. We asked MPD if that's why the case was never sent to the DA. We have yet to hear back.
It's not right. It should be another system, a better system.
To this day, Towns doesn't know why she was forced out of her car and into handcuffs.
And we still don't know what we did. We still don't know what we did.
Jessica Gertler, WREG, News Channel 3.
Still looking for answers. And Towns' attorney, Carlos Moore, is also looking into the matter. And the new DA, Steve Mulroy, said they may be open, that is, to looking at the case. However, a final decision has not been made since Mulroy was just made aware of this case. We will let you know when we find out more.